Hey everyone! Today I'm revisiting a deck that a while back I said wasn't quite there, not really as competitive as I wanted it to be. And the interesting thing was, I was digging through old decks and playing them to see how they felt, and this one felt pretty good, even though I didn't really change much, and that was what was surprising to me. I think it's honestly just a result of the meta changing. The cards that I'm playing just became a lot better. White Weenie is much more popular, even if it's not as popular as it was right after the Pro Tour. It's much more popular than it was when I played this deck the first time, so Goblin Chainwhirler is a way better card than it was at the beginning of the format. Like, people tried to play Mono Red a bit, but Chainwhirler wasn't that good, so they kind of dropped off, but this card's really good now. And furthermore, some of the next most popular decks are black-green with Wild Growth Walker, in which case Lava Coil is exactly where you want to be, and the Grixis Izzet Phoenix decks, where Lava Coil and Ixalan's Binding are fantastic. Being able to exile a Phoenix, or even just Justice Striking to kill some of those threats, and Ixalan's Binding on a Crackling Drake makes it really hard for them to win. They just don't have very many win conditions left. And finally, Teferi and Rekindling Phoenix are just as amazing as they always have been. Fantastic threats, and not that many answers to them right now. Not many other people are playing Lava Coil, and so this card is better than it was, like, at the peak, at peak levels of Vraska's Contempt and things like that. The one change that I did make is the black-green decks have moved towards playing a giant pile of Carnage Tyrants, and so I want to be prepared for that. So, I've gone up to 3 Settle the Wreckage in the sideboard. This card is just okay at dealing with Carnage Tyrant because they have Duresses and stuff. But it's kind of the best thing our colors have to offer. But the one thing we do have going for us is we have a lot of creatures in the main deck that are good at blocking. And so if we can just get down like any 2 of these, we can just block the Tyrant. And then with cards like Ionize, we can protect them pretty effectively to try and actually win in combat. Outside of that, we have a Sweeper and Fiery Cannonade. Don't really need more than that with the Chainwhirlers and the Settles, but that's fine. A little bit of extra removal in Lava Coil. Oh yeah, we have Deafening Clarion if we really need a damage-based Sweeper. This card is much better than Cannonade against black-green, so if they were playing a really aggressive version with all the Explorer creatures, we'd probably bring it in there. And then, finally, against control decks, one of the cards that we have the most troubles beating over a long game is a Search for Azcanta, so I have a couple Field of Ruin. This card is also just great because in control mirrors it allows us to board up to 28 lands, so we can keep hitting our land drops and pull ahead that way. And then Spell Pierce, we can't really play a proper counterspell like Sinister Sabotage or anything like that. Maybe these should be negates. I think they should be, actually. I'm going to change that right now. Just an anti-control card, easy to cast, hopefully can shore up that matchup a bit. We just need a lot of cards to board out in those scenarios, because we have a lot of cards that are pretty bad. So, I think that's it, and I'm going to go hop into the games. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it. One thing I was surprised when I took this game out for a couple of matches was how good it felt against black-green. When I played it early in the format, the black-green decks were super grindy. I think this hand's good enough. And, it was just really hard to beat them when they're playing, like, District Guides and stuff, because all your removal lines up so poorly. But, probably a Llanowar Elves? When they are playing cards like Llanowar Elves and Wild Growth Walker, it's way easier to beat them with 1-for-1 removal than if all of their cards are 2-for-1s. So the way the black-green decks have evolved has made this deck much better, I think. That said, we still might kind of get run over here. We need to hit a 3rd land to really do much of anything. That said, Chainwhirler will be very good if we can hit that. I'm not going to activate Treasure Map on my upkeep. I really want to hit a land naturally and just Chainwhirler and wipe their board. Detection Tower is interesting. They must really be concerned about the black-green mirror. I don't know if that's really where you want to be. Like, sure, this lets you target their Carnage Tyrants, but I don't know, you could just play more big creatures that block well. Okay. We unfortunately did not draw land. Now we're really far behind. Oh well. This is where, like, if they just cast a Vivian Reed, the game's probably over, and that sucks. We were on the draw against the Llanowar Elves deck and missed our third land drop. There is not too much you can do about that. Yep, sure, take some damage. We'll see what they do, though. Creatures we can beat, because we have a lot of the really good cards. We can even beat that if we just, like, take one hit and then draw a white land for Justice Strike. Okay, really want to see, like, a Clifftop Retreat on top. No. Oh, please. Please. Ah. Well, that was not an encouraging start, but I don't know. That can happen to any deck. That was just bad. At least we didn't show them much. Okay, so we haven't seen a Carnage Tyrant yet, but they are probably bringing them in, so I'm going to prepare for that. What is bad here? I think Legion Warboss is pretty bad. Doesn't really attack well into what they're doing. Ionize is kind of bad. Like, it's great against Vivian Reed. It's one of our best cards there, but otherwise it's kind of terrible. Like, they play to the board so early with all the Explore creatures that we can't just be leaving mana up for a million turns. I think this arrangement is okay. Yeah, even though we didn't do anything, what we showed them was Steam Vents Mountain, so they are... It's very easy to surmise that Carnage Tyrant is going to be a good card against us, so have to assume that they're bringing that in. Hopefully we can hit our land drops. It's possible that... trying to think. The tension in this deck is that, like, you want to be playing some amount of removal to not die early, but at the same time, ugh. I guess this hand's okay. It's better than the last one. But at the same time, I really didn't want to be casting removal spells for those first few turns. I just wanted to play the Chainwhirler and kill 2 of their creatures and get really far ahead that way. Okay. Hopefully this can help us hit our land drops. We've got a lot of good removal. We've got a counter for a potential Vivian. Duress is kind of annoying, but it's pretty easy to figure out that they were going to bring that in. Oh, please. Oh, right, whatever. Not a combo. But hopefully... This is definitely a deck I'll be revisiting in the new format. Definitely gonna put that in the graveyard. Alright. This kind of sucks because this is the first turn we would have had Ionize up, but we just need to get him off the table right now while we can. Okay. I'm gonna bin that. I really want one of those eventually, but we just need to hit our lands, and apparently that is not allowed. Dang. Okay, 5 lands. This is the turn that we really needed Ionize to be up. Branchwalker, though, is fine. Yep, sure. We've got all the removal in the world. I'm just going to go ahead and try to keep the board clear. I need to fill up my graveyard so we can go ahead and flip this. Okay. Now we are in business, because we have a counterspell up, and if they don't walk into it, we get to start drawing cards with our Azcanta. And so, they need to start doing powerful things right now, or we're going to run away with the game. That said, they have 6 lands. Okay. I was expecting a big nasty dinosaur, but this works for me. Yeah, sure. Take an explosion, I guess. Huh. We don't have triple red, so we can't cast the Chainwhirler. I guess we just pass here. Can either cast a counterspell, or we can Ionize. If they duress me, I kind of want to expansion it. That might be foolish, though. Maybe I just Ionize this? Huh. If I do anything, then I don't get to activate Azcanta, and that kind of sucks. So I'm just gonna let this happen, because this is just putting me up a card as opposed to trading. They're gonna get to 1-for-1 me anyway, so... Oh, please don't be a Vivian Reed. That would be tough to beat. That said, we get a lot of looks towards an Ixalan's binding, so... We are capable of beating that card, it's just not easy. Okay, that's... very similarly scary. Now I wish I had expansioned the Duress. That would have kind of been like a called shot, like, hey, I think you have a good Planeswalker, which is not super likely to work out, but, it would have worked out pretty well. Okay. This has not been kind to us. At all. Wow. Yeah. We don't have that much removal. We've got like 7 spot removal spells, but we just drew almost all of them. I kind of want to start dealing with the board, but I really need to get this chick off the table. So maybe I just take some damage now and activate Azcanta on their end step again. Ooh, boy. It's funny to think that if I had just, like, taken the total shot in the dark and expansioned on Duress, we'd actually be in an excellent spot right now. Assuming they don't have another Vraska in their hand. Like, even drawing a land there would have been great because we could still do 1 removal spell while activating Azcanta. That deals with all the creatures. Okay, so... If we play the land untapped, does that accomplish anything? It lets us settle plus something else, but, like, is that even good? Not really. The weird thing about Vraska is she can put us to 1, but, like, with a Settle the Wreckage, that's not even, like, a threat. Like, we're still just gonna exile the whole board anyway. So, yeah. I guess that's just what we're doing this turn. Go ahead and discard a Chainwhirler, I guess. Also awkward, this deck has very few non-red lands, but we've drawn so few lands total that we're, like, leaning on this Azcanta. And so, and plus we drew 2 of our non-red lands, so we just don't have nearly as many red sources. Like, on this board, double Chainwhirler would be great. But it is not something we have available to us. Yeah, it looks like we're just gonna kind of lose to Duress into Vraska. That sucks. Huh. And they're playing around the Settle the Wreckage, which is, like, weird. Because I can just take 4. Like, 4 is not a threat. 10 and 1 are, like... How am I trying to phrase this? At any time, they could put me to 1, so 10 and 14 are exactly the same. Like, there's no way I'm gonna settle this many creatures. Well, now I might, since I have a spare. So now if I cast Chainwhirler, I still have Settle the Wreckage up? Does that do anything? Kinda? Not really, but... I have to discard anyway, and I don't know that, like, having an extra expansion is worth anything. Ooh, boy. We need them to, like, attack for non-lethal, I Azcanta into Ixalan's binding, and then draw a land on our turn. Then we could bind Vraska, and still have Settle up on their turn. Yep, sure. That's kind of funny. Even if I can keep them off the board, Eldest Reborn is going to reanimate my Chainwhirler now and kill me if Vraska puts me to 1. Yep, sure. Unfortunately, I do not have double red, so I can't double Justice Strike. I do have to settle here. I'm basically dead, but I don't think this game's going to go more than a couple more turns, so it doesn't really matter either way. Yeah, sure. Well, there's the Ixalan's Binding. Too little, too late. Yep, I'm gonna go ahead and pack it in. Alright, not an encouraging first match. Losing to mana issues and then losing to our cards really not lining up very well. Which might be a problem with the deck, but it's hard to say after just one match. Okay, second match with Jeskai Chainwhirler. Hoping for a better showing than that last one. It might turn out that I just had a few good games off camera and those encouraged me too much. We shall see. It's hard to say though. Like, it's kind of always the way with these mid-rangey decks. Like, sometimes Lava Coil into Chainwhirler is just going to work and you're going to look like a genius as your deck performs perfectly. And sometimes it's not. Mid-range decks and how good they are generally comes down to the percentage. Like, what percent of the time are they fantastic? Here, if they're playing the Is It Phoenix deck, which I think is the most likely, Lava Coil is excellent, Chainwhirler is not. Search for Azcanta and Teferi are both pretty good, though. Okay, doing something a little different, maybe the Dragons deck? That was actually a really good draw, because they're tapped out here, so I can just stick this guy and hit them for one, and now they need to answer it, or this is going to run away with the game really fast. Maybe it was... Now I'm wondering if it was foolish to build this deck assuming that Teferi was good enough to make up for the rest of the internal tensions in the deck. It's possible that instead of Teferi... sure, let's go ahead and hit our fourth land. It's possible that instead of Teferi, I should be looking to be playing like a red-black mid-range deck. The Planeswalkers would be worse, but like, Duress into Legion Warboss is way better than Legion Warboss plus Ionize. Maybe I'll look at doing something like that next time. Search for Azcanta is really good, though. And bin that. We don't really need another one of those. Good draw. Do I walk Rekindling Phoenix into a counterspell? I kind of don't want to. Whether or not I do something, we know they have something to do with their mana. Like if they have a Sinister Sabotage, they get to sabotage my Phoenix and still activate the treasure map. I really don't want to walk this into a counter. Yeah, like how they even manually tapped the mountain, leaving up Sinister the whole time. Okay, probably digging for a fifth land. It's the only reason I can really think of to be activating that on upkeep. This is an interesting game. We haven't gotten bitten by our mana yet, but we're in a position where that's reasonably likely to happen. Graveyard. Yep. Well, this is still not quite what I was referring to. Not having a fifth land would bite us even if we had 25 Hallowed Fountains in our deck. Okay. They are winning on the card advantage front. They've got these 3 treasures that they can turn into cards, but we've got a good board. Working on Search for Azcanta, although we're not that close yet. But if we ever find a white land and... Oh, they were missing a color. Okay. Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and attack with these. We shall see if they want to do anything about my cards. Okay. Now, because I've got a spare Teferi, I am going to go ahead and slam this, because if it resolves, we are very, very likely to win the game, and if it doesn't, we have another one ready to go. Cool. Feeling pretty good about this. They would need a very good string of plays to come back from Phoenix plus Teferi on board when they're at 7. Not to mention this little guy just keeps chipping in. It's Legion Warboss got 1-for-1, but because he stuck around for basically a phase, we got a weird amount of value in how we're pressuring their life total. That is another reason why Ionize is good in this deck, because we have so much more of an aggressive slant than a normal Jeskai deck. Wow. Okay. That's kind of weird. Okay, sure. 1-for-1 my Phoenix. Goodbye, Phoenix. You have a removal spell for Teferi? Because you really need one. Okay. Well, he's gonna get Lava Coiled. Alright, search, find me something good. That counts. Sweet. They drew 3 cards off this expansion, or explosion, but it cost them all their treasures, so their other card advantage engine was cut off. And then, they burned through those cards really quickly and didn't, like, completely catch up. You have an Essence Scatter or a Syncopate? No. Looks like my Phoenix is going to stick, which means, again, it's going to be tough to get rid of the Phoenix. Meanwhile, they're all the way down to 6. How close are we? We're a few cards away from transforming Azcanta. I wonder what they're splashing black for, because it looks like they're very heavy blue-red with a black splash. Maybe, Bolas, the 4-mana dragon, if they have, like, a dragon's package otherwise going on. Just go ahead and attack, see what happens. Trading goblins. This is reasonably predictable, but I figure that they have better things that I want to save my Lava Coil for. I'm not so close to killing them that I just want to burn this on a token. Okay, another explosion. See, I'll assume they have another removal spell. They just drew 3 cards, and they're about to draw for their draw step, plus they can use the other treasure cove to crack one of these treasures. Casting a kill your guy plus draw 3 multiple times is a good way to keep up. Otherwise, I don't think they would have been able to keep up with what we were doing. That said, we still have a Teferi on the table, plus 2 more in hand. Okay. Oh, there's one down. That's going to be able to get our Teferi, which is upsetting. Unless we stop it. Okay, so we can... Got a counter spell? Counter would be rough for us here. If they do not, we'll actually be in pretty good shape. Get to draw a card with Teferi. Okay, that card isn't very good, but whatever. And now we get to activate Azcanta. And next turn we can look to bind this. Yep, sure. Probably pitching Justice Strike. Sure. Third treasure map. This is a kind of interesting game in that neither of us seem to be able to effectively stop the other person from drawing lots of cards. Like, both of our card advantage engines are just kind of going, and otherwise I'm playing threats and they're killing my threats. They've drawn a couple more cards than me, which is impressive, given how many turns I've had Teferi on board. That is bad news, but, well, it's kind of bad news. This is actually a really good draw, because what we can do is we can bind Niv Mizzet, and then we can actually use Teferi to tuck the Eldest Reborn, and we will have Ionize up. To stop it when it comes back down, whenever they draw it again. Okay. They choose to activate the treasure map again. Probably digging down to the Eldest Reborn as quickly as possible. Yeah, their upkeep. Putting another card down so they get to draw that this turn. Again, if they have a counterspell, we'll be in somewhat rough shape, but I don't know. That's just been the case the whole game, and they haven't shown a counter yet. First time for everything. Damn. Alright, goodbye, Teferi. Anything else? They're starting to run low on cards again, but they almost have a treasure map flipped again. Luckily, we have cut off future Niv Mizzets, so they might be short on win conditions. Just gonna go ahead and plus. We don't need to tuck this yet. We have spare cards to discard. I don't think... Yeah, they're pretty low. I'm gonna go ahead and cast this. Got him down to 5, and we've got a Legion Warboss on the table. Yep, draw your card. Sure, that's fine. Unfortunately, 1 mana short of activating Azcanta, but that is okay. They have access to a lot of cards here, because this is going to flip and make the 3 treasures, and they have 2 coves going. So we'll see what they can come up with. Now I'm going to discard Lava Coil instead of Justice Strike, because if they somehow got rid of this binding and then played another Niv Mizzet, I want to be able to kill it. Pretty marginal, but I think it's a little more valuable than the exile ability. Alright, opponent, you have 1,000,000 mana and and potentially 6 cards in hand. But I've got a good board. Who will win from here? This is a close game. It does make me wonder if I should be playing more Ixalan's bindings. A lot of standard has come down to, like, big trump cards like Niv Mizzet. I've seen a lot of Jeskai decks playing a bunch of these in the main deck even. And like out of BG, I would really love to just be able to keep cards like Vivian Reed off the table forever. Nothing. They're gonna do nothing. Okay. Well, I'm gonna run back what I did last time. Just gonna get rid of that and attempt to counter it. And actually, I don't even need to counter it. It's very bad on this board. Making me sack Goblin token is not very good. They have a Cannonade here. I'm gonna fight over this. Okay. Damn, we have had so many really powerful cards resolve, and then they just have the counter spell at these last few turns. Maybe they're playing more and they just got kind of unlucky with when they drew them before. Well, I mean, there wasn't a lot I could do about that, but I think I'm about to fall pretty far behind. Because they're going to get to draw into the Eldest Reborn again, and I don't have a counter for it. The triple treasure map draw has just been absolutely brutal. And I keep having to tuck this thing because I really don't want them getting my Teferi. I do not have a lot of answers for my own Planeswalker. That said, their card draw is almost exhausted. I still have one Teferi in the deck left, I think. Yeah. That is not very many. Okay, there's a counter. Okay. I think I hold this Sacred Foundry, pitch that to the Eldest Reborn. I'm gonna go ahead and activate this now. If I hit a treasure map, I would have used that. Huh. That's a really good card. Okay. Card. Back up to 1,000,000 cards in hand, sure. But I've got a counter and a card that threatens to just kill them at any time. So, I have to consider the timing on this. Like when exactly I want to try to explosion them for 5. I don't know that I'm gonna get a good opportunity. Like, should I do it with the trigger of them trying to reanimate my Teferi on the stack? Alternatively, maybe they'll try to explosion me, but there's no way they'll do that. Because they know about this, they saw it. Oh, huh. Man, this is so awkward, because they can tuck my Ixalan's binding and get Niv Mizzet back. Ugh, that isn't pretty. Yep, they just instantly targeted that. Well, here we go. Unfortunately, don't have enough lands to go for lethal and then also have Ionize up. I guess that, actually, we could have gone for 2 less, and then if they only had 1 counter, we Ionize it and it kills them exactly. That might have worked. It's a little cheeky. Yeah, well, they had a Syncopate, so that was never going to work. Wow, that... Like I said, we didn't see any counters for a lot of turns, and then we saw a lot of counters really quickly, and I think we're going to lose now. They just drew so many cards off of this engine here. Well, alright, I'm gonna attempt to kill Niv Mizzet. This may or may not work. Chainwhirler kills Teferi, though, so if we can resolve that, that'd be cool. Okay, they're just cycling their cards and pinging me for one. Trying to draw into a counter, maybe. Oh my god! Oh, this is brutal. Is it worth trying to Ionize their Ionize? Like, I guess we have to try. Draws them another card. Okay. So we got Niv off the table. We're gonna put them down to 2. And we've got a Lethal Threat on board. They have 6 cards in hand and we have 0. Oh dear. Oh my god, they have another! Ah! Yep, kill my guy, draw a card, sure. Well, if they don't have another counter, we can Azcanta into our Ixalan's binding and bind him, but... Oh boy. This has been... Well, that was a terrible draw, but oh well. Yeah. Huh. How many counters have they shown? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 Ionize and 1 Syncopate. It's probably too greedy to go for Ionize and try to just kill them. I'm just gonna get this binding. Try to bind Niv. Because, like, if they have another counter, as soon as we try to counter a proactive spell, they'll just hit us with it anyway. Yeah, they just had too much. Oh, I really thought we were going to win that game for, like, most of it, but their trumps were better, and they just drew way too many cards. We didn't draw our explosions until much too late. Alright, Negate's in, definitely Last Binding in, Field of Ruin in, Lava Coil's out, Chainwhirler's out. That's too many cards out, that's a little unfortunate. Guess a couple Chainwhirlers back in. Ew. They did show that one Legion Warboss really early, so that is a reason that Chainwhirler is still not the worst thing in the world, but it's still kind of the worst thing in the world. Dang, really would have liked to pick up that game 1. It's possible that their deck will just be too much better set up games 2 and 3. Decks that main deck Niv Mizzet tend to have a bunch of Crackling Drakes in the sideboard, and especially with how we had to go down on removal, we might just not be able to keep up with that. Maybe this game will draw our treasure maps early, and they won't. That would be great. How could I have played that game better? Maybe... Maybe I was actually supposed to let... The very first time an Eldest Reborn was about to go off and I tucked it with Teferi, maybe I was supposed to let that go. Because if they play a Teferi and they do whatever, I can try to play another Teferi and tuck mine back into my deck. Like, if I downtick on the one they control, it goes back into my deck, so... That's like a better permanent solution. They just, once we got to that point, it felt like they countered everything relevant I did, though, so that might not have worked, like, because playing it that way involves casting another Planeswalker. If I can't resolve him, then it doesn't matter. This hand seems great. Early Treasure Map, one of the best cards in the matchup. Mana just works. Seems awesome. Huh. My first instinct was to play Glacial Fortress, but maybe we'll want to play Chainwhirler on 3, just get a threat down and start hitting them. I can play it a little slower. Go ahead and stick another treasure map. Sure, now the Chainwhirler will clean up the 1/1 and threaten to block future parts. This works for me. Don't think we want another one of those quite yet. And if they kill my Chainwhirler and then attack with something, I can always just Justice Strike this guy next turn, deal with the token eventually, that's fine. Right now I'm hitting land drops, getting my card advantage engine going, I just need to not die on the board. Yep, they lift in Lava Coils. I suppose we did show Rekindling Phoenix, so that's probably a good idea. Yep, sure, I take 4, that's fine. They missed their 4th land drop. Unfortunately, Chainwhirler no longer really good enough. Just gonna go ahead and kill this now, make sure this doesn't get countered. Okay. I wondered why I got priority for a second. When you have expansion in your hand, you always have priority after casting a spell. So that's why. We can afford to take 2 a few times. They weren't pressuring our life total, like, at all last game. I don't think that's a threat. Wish we could counter that, but we can't. You are definitely an acceptable card to have on top. Go ahead and do this just to get the counter on there. Tapping manually to make sure it doesn't tap my Treasure Cove, because I'm going to go ahead and draw a whole bunch of cards here. Yep, sure. Then I get to uptick Teferi. And this is great because not only will I untap my Treasure Cove... Oh, and I get to play another land? Okay. I get to untap Treasure Cove to immediately draw another card. I also get to have, even if I hadn't drawn a land there, I'd have another land up to activate the other treasure map. Just really going off here. Probably just going to take one more hit from this goblin, and then I can handle it next turn. Hell, that might even be what I point my explosion at. Just kill it and draw some cards. The chip damage to them isn't nearly as relevant. Okay, they now have Ionize mana up. Do I want to kill this guy? I kind of do. Just keep Teferi nice and healthy. I give up a counter on Treasure Cove or Treasure Map to do this, but... yeah, I think that's fine. Teferi, what do you have for us? Negate, that is a very good draw. Let's go ahead, play Legion Warboss. Now it's my turn to be applying pressure. Go ahead and play this Sacred Foundry tapped, doesn't really matter. End step, untap some lands. Okay. Feeling pretty good about this game. They get to flip this, so they are going to start drawing cards too, but we have got multiple card advantage engines going to their 1. We have more lands in play. We already have the threat, and these are both just really good cards to have. They could just sack all their stuff and play a Niv Mizzet here. We would, do we have enough mana to kill it with Explosion? Or, yeah, we could, on board. That's kind of cool. Okay, they hit their black. They are having similar mana problems to how our deck does. Got all these basic mountains plus Drowned Catacomb. And draw my card. Yeah, let's just go to... Oh, I forgot to activate the treasure map. Dang it, I even, like, double looked over my whole board to be sure. If they have a Cannonade here, I will attempt to negate it. I suppose that's actually a reason I should have upticked to Teferi first to look for another counterspell. Okay, they do not have the Cannonade. That's a good draw. I already played my land for the turn, so yeah, I'll go ahead and end. This should be ready to flip. I screwed that up. Just completely forgot on their end step. Let's see, are they planning to explosion my Warboss first 3 or something like that? I will definitely negate that. Guess they can only do it for 2? That's like not even that good. Sack all your treasures, draw 2 cards. Or like this, like, they gave up future card draw. They need to be a little desperate with how much pressure we have on board, but it still doesn't feel good. Yep, sure, draw your card. Niv Mizzet, really not even that scary here, since we can just bind it immediately. Treasure map, way too slow. They need... yeah. They need a lot better stuff than that for what we're about to do. That seems great. Sure. I really hate the interface for Legion Warboss. Like, how you have to click the one that must attack first. Like, just let me click all attack. So, I don't think we go for the lethal explosion yet. Oh, this was dumb. Well, they gave me priority again, so I don't actually have to worry about it. But, I almost threw away a good chance to do something here. Yeah, I wanted to activate Treasure Map because it taps exactly 2 lands. Now on their end step, I'll be able to draw 2 cards with my Treasure Coves. Okay, now they're down to 1 mana, and so I believe now I can actually have the opportunity, unless they have Spell Pierce. Red, blue, blue, red. Oh, it wants me to crack a treasure. That's why it's making me manually do this. There we go. So, I waited until they tapped low, so now the odds of them having a negate were reasonably high. We know they have Ionize in their deck, but as soon as the only viable card to counter that was Spell Pierce, I felt pretty good about just going for it. Alright, worked out that game. With the 2 searches and the 3 treasure maps, I think we've got to be okay in this matchup, because we've got, like, a critical mass of the early card advantage engines, but we do need to draw them. Whew. These games have been a slog compared to the first ones where we just kind of got beat up. At least we got that one, though. So, that game was interesting because we played our card advantage early and they didn't, and so I always felt like we were winning on that aspect. The only thing that I think I could have done differently was when they attacked Teferi for 3, I killed the Goblin instead of getting a counter on my treasure map. So I slowed down in drawing cards in order to keep the board under control. And if we hadn't been applying so much pressure at the end, that might have bitten me just because they resolved those 2 treasure maps that they had, and we're starting to do stuff with that. This hand's too bad. The mana is bad, and those are like a bunch of our worst cards. This hand is better. There's white mana. We really want one of our treasure maps or search for Azcantas, though. Like, if they stick a map here and we don't, we're gonna be really far behind. Yep. Oh boy. Well, I mean, that's a good card. Hopefully we get to Ionize something and then stick him, but... like, this Drago game, they're now very far ahead. Okay, opponent, try to play a Crackling Drake on your main phase. Or, not yet. Do that next turn, when we'll be able to stick a Teferi afterwards. This opponent just seems to like to very aggressively set the stop to treasure map on their upkeep. Wow. I said we needed to draw some card advantage, but this is not exactly what I meant. Huh. I could Ixalan's Binding this. No, we're far enough behind otherwise. I'm gonna go for it. Maybe this gets countered, whatever. But if this resolves, we're like in really good shape. Okay. They had an Ionize. I hadn't thought of that before, but that's just like... this has been their main way to draw cards all 3 games. They showed a Chemister's Insight, but like, they don't have a Planeswalker like this, and they haven't shown Search for Azcanta. If we could cut this off forever, it would be really hard for them to keep up with us. I assume they're debating whether or not to main phase activate the map. Oof. We've drawn... in 4 draw steps, we've drawn the Clifftop Retreat we kept on top, and triple Teferi. Ooh boy. We really need a 5th land, or at least just something cheaper to do. There's a 5th land. When they've got this going, I don't think we can just sit behind our Ionizes. I don't think that's a winning strategy, so I'm just gonna start slamming these guys. Hopefully they only have like 2 Ionizes in hand instead of like 4. That said, I think we're pretty likely to lose this game. We have to be the ones to keep playing on main phase because they stuck this early. They're about to go up a lot of cards. And at any time, they could just slam a Niv Mizzet and the game's over. That card is one hell of a trump. Okay, main phase drawing a card, interesting. Wonder what they could have. They've just been sequencing these turns really strangely, in my opinion. It's really easy to just pass with your counters up. Okay, another treasure map. Again, I'm just gonna slam one of these guys. If they stick, we can keep up in a game of card advantage. If they don't stick, there's no way we're keeping up with this. And here, I actually want to play this untapped. Because, and this is like super telegraphed, but whatever. Not a lot I can do about that. This way I get to hold up Ionize on their turn. So if they have like an Eldest Reborn or something, I get to stop that. I have 3 and 2 on the treasure map versus search for Azcanta in my deck. Maybe it should just be 4 of these and like 1 search. This card is so good. And feeding into like the fact that it's a mid-range deck, if I were to go like red-black to use discard spells to try to cheat my good creatures through, I think I would go to Treasure Coves, and instead of, like, Angrath or another 5-mana one, I'd just play Karn. Karn is so good with this card. You just make really big constructs, and not a whole lot that anyone can do about it. Okay, that was a good draw. And it gives us a way to keep up in cards. Play that. Play my Search for Azcanta. We even get to hold up double Ionize here. That's kind of cool. Meanwhile, we're just living in constant fear of Niv Mizzet. And we are not particularly close to flipping this to find one of our bindings. We have a Justice Strike, though, so might be able to resolve that with Ionize backup. Do I counter this? I don't think so. I apparently won't shut up this match about it, but the thing about this card advantage fight is treasure map is really efficient. It works well into all your turns. It's easy to get it down early. It has the unique advantage that when you flip it, it gives you like a lot of mana availability. Like they have the option to draw a card here, or with this pile of treasures, they could stick a Niv Mizzet and they've got a lot of mana. Which, like, obviously these don't Teferi kind of does, but Search doesn't, like, give me extra mana while I'm messing with it. But, the disadvantage is you need the treasures as fuel. Like, their card advantage engine will run out of gas. Teferi can +1 forever. This card will never stop. Huh. I think I want to Ionize this. If I still had Lava Coils in my deck, I might be fine with it, but as is, it's really annoying. I'm also just looking for an opportunity to use an Ionize that, like, affects the board in any way. Their best card doesn't care about Ionize. And yeah, I'm just gonna counter this. Also, just really eager to get a bunch of cards in my graveyard, flip Azcanta as quickly as possible. That is a good card. I will keep that one on top.
You know what? I'm not done yet.
I can go ahead and let this enter tapped. Cool. Can explosion for 4? That seems pretty cool. They still have 3 treasures left with 2 active coves plus 1,000,000 cards in hand, so they are far from out of it, but I'm feeling like this could go okay. Okay. I am going to just try to explosion this guy. If they counter it, whatever, they were going to counter my explosion anyway, but I think 4 damage on them isn't nearly as relevant as just trying to get this off the table right now. Maybe they'll do something else in their main phase, tap low, that'd be cool. Still 5 cards in hand. That is a lot with the 2 treasures on board. Really would like to keep Teferi safe. We could just ult this guy. Suddenly winning the game becomes trivial. We just start exiling all their stuff. But, it is pretty hard to do that against a deck with red in it. Huh. This is a bit of a spew as far as value is concerned. But, I'm actually only going to do for 2 here. Because I think it's reasonably likely that they have a counter. And if they do have a counter, I still want my Justice Strike to resolve on the Warboss. They don't have a counter. Okay. Can't say I anticipated that. Well, okay then. Sweet. It's one of our best cards. What is in their hand? It must be just, like, so incredibly flooded or something. Because I'm just kind of doing whatever I want, and they're not stopping me at all. before I cast Explosion there, I was feeling kind of medium about this game. Now I feel like we're really likely to win. That might be overconfidence. Yeah, sure. Resolve your Chemister's Insight. Like, their card advantage is starting to run out. They've got 1,000,000 cards in hand, but they only have one more draw off their treasure coves. This, if it ults, the game is probably just over, and we have a counter to try and protect it. This is a little unfortunate. If they cast this and then another spell, they get to ping him regardless of what we do. But that might be fine. If that's what they try to do, then I'll get to Ixalan's Binding and be very likely to Ionize to protect it. Yeah, this part is rough for us. It's going to take a while to come back from this. Yeah. And here, we no longer just have the kind of I win button of a Teferi ult on the table. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm minimizing the damage. Like, we could Justice Strike him, but then they get to draw another card and ping him again. So I'm just going to wait until my turn in Ixalan's Binding. I think this is the safest way to gradually grind the game out. I will put that in the graveyard. We don't need that. Let's go ahead and just do this right now. If it absolutely comes down to it, I will tuck Niv with Teferi. Really don't want to do that, but that's the reason to not activate this first. The counter argument is that if I activate this first, I might find another counter, and then we can beat double counter spell on the Ixalan's Binding. Sure. As I mentioned before, shooting their own Niv Mizzet with a removal spell is basically just cycling it, and they get an extra point of damage in, but doesn't really do much. Now they're only down to 1 colored mana, and so we're basically certain to win this fight. Keep Nivs off the table for the foreseeable future, which is great. Sure. Draw your card. Again, pinging to... Again, they're just doing that to ping Teferi down. So it's going to take a while to finish this game now, as opposed to it being easy, but still feeling quite confident now. They have exhausted their card draw. Go ahead and put that in the graveyard. Transform. Sweet. This is awesome. Well, it's not as awesome as I want it to be. It works well with Teferi. If they play another Niv, we can tuck it and then shuffle it away. Let's go ahead and plus Teferi. And then we can play a land, activate Search, so we have all the mana in the world. Take a Justice Strike, sure. Okay, and this is where the game gets really ugly, because we can just truly bury them in our infinity cards. They are currently drawing 1 card a turn, we're drawing 4. Well, 4 if we actually hit. That was unfortunate, but alas. Sure, I'll take an extra Ixalan's Binding, in case of something scary. Go ahead and play a land tapped. Left to discard here, but whatever. Again, about to activate Teferi, or about to ult Teferi. They need to make something happen right now, or else they are done for. That said, if this sneaks through, I will be thoroughly irritated. Ionize. Hopefully this works. They have another counter. Ermagerd. We drew all our Justice Strikes and none of our Negates. That is unfortunate. Also no creatures who would have protected Teferi from that. There's the Negate. Well, that said, I'm going to go ahead and bind this. So no more Eldest Reborns. I am thoroughly done with that. And then I can Azcanta Teferi, untap Azcanta. Sure, let's take an Explosion. I guess this was actually a little hasty. We're throwing him into getting countered. We can't negate it. Maybe I should have taken that other one with Azcanta. Yeah. Well, they're out of cards, whereas we have a lot, but we don't have anything good to do. Alright. Play the Phoenix. Let's try to end the game this way. No more getting fancy with trying to draw cards on our turn and stuff, because we don't have our sweet Planeswalker untapping anything. Let's actually put these Justice Strikes to work, shall we? Okay. Hopefully this is like the Eldest Reborn Niv Mizzet in their hand. Take another Negate. Sweet. Get my Phoenix back. This guy down. Okay. I think we have finally eked out the enormous advantage needed to win this game. Holy crap, this match has been brutal. They have just enough counters to stop us from doing our cool stuff when we really want it to. Whew, but our cards are just kind of better. Like, we just had the superior cards. Treasure Map doesn't draw you stuff forever. Whew. Well, I guess I'll be back for a third one, but holy crap. Okay, back for the third match with Jeskai Chainwhirler. Hopefully, it doesn't go on and on and on like that last one. Control mirrors can be fun, but that was a little ridiculous. Ooh. Also kinda ooh, but I think this is one we keep. I wonder if there's a good deck out there with, like... Trying to think, like, maybe a Dinosaurs deck with white. I'm just thinking that the best cards in these types of decks cost 4. Like, Ixalan's Binding is a really good card, but 4 is just so many mana. I'm thinking of, like, old standard formats where control decks and mid-range decks would play Farseek to jump up to their powerful 4s really quickly. I don't know if there's a reasonable way to do that, but I could see, like... Ew. Come on, man, our hand wasn't that good before. We didn't need this. Looks like we're in for another control mirror, which our deck has the tools to win this matchup, but it is not easy, because I think on average, we will have more dead cards than our opponent. We're going to have more Lava Coils and Justice Strikes, whereas if they're playing Cast Down, we actually have good targets for that. But at the same time, we have Treasure Maps and Thought Erasures and difficult to deal with threats and Teferis, whereas they definitely don't have a Planeswalker as good as he is. Oh. I have lost a lot of matches this week to missing my third land drop. It makes me want to play 40 lands in every deck that I ever play. Well, if they don't do anything with their mana, it doesn't really matter. Like, We'll catch up eventually, and we'll just be up cards, effectively. But that is not usually how you win control mirrors. Yep, the Ravager. Go ahead and get rid of this Goblin Chainwhirler. I don't think that's what this matchup's about. I'm gonna go ahead and Lava Coil this guy. There's some argument to waiting and binding him later, but we don't even have white mana yet, so I don't want to count on that. Just take the 2-for-1, get that guy off the table. Alright, well, we hit the white mana, so now I feel a little foolish, but whatever. I'm just gonna throw this out there. If they've got removal or a counter, that's fine. Otherwise, they're just going to be casting a Chemist's Insight or whatever, so... we'll see how this goes. Not confident this game is going to go well. I think our best chance is if they've got like a bunch of Doom Whisperers or stuff, and we can hold that off and then stick it to Teferi, and if he's not answered, he'll just win the game pretty effectively. Oh, they let me get this far. I suspect, yeah, they wanted to set this stop in my main phase, so I didn't get this Goblin. It's not hugely significant. A 1-1 isn't going to swing the game, but... definitely note, it's sometimes difficult to tell, because, like, there's no visual indicator around here that I added a stop, except the text. But you do still have to do it. Okay, let's see if they want to kill my little guy. Go, Goblin! Again, same logic as last turn, I'm just gonna throw this down. If it sticks, cool. If not, whatever. It's not like we were doing anything else. Yep, sure. Okay. After them showing both Sinister Sabotage and Thought Erasure, they are probably a disinformation campaign deck. Huh. This is an interesting choice. This card has Flash. I would have attacked with the Goblin, I promise. They could have just blocked, but maybe they wanted to sneak it under a counter. Problem is they probably don't have that many win conditions, so when I bind this, it's going to be really tough for them to close the game. That said, they've still got a couple cards in hand. They get to Surveil 4 here. They got rid of a couple extra lands, so they probably got some good stuff left. Go ahead and go to my turn. Okay, now if we draw Teferi, we can cast it. Begone, Dream Eater. Yeah. This is what we're going to lose to. We're probably going to immediately have something to pick it back up. I mean, if not, we can try to bind it, and that would be great. It would be really easy to win the game if we had both of these cards cut off, but not counting on it. Wow, is this just going to work? Holy crap, what's in their hand? Wow. Okay. Okay, we need another answer to this. We will just die to this card, especially once it flips, but we are in this game. Alright, deck. Okay. Begone, vile creature. Eh? Oh. Well, that's pretty unfortunate. That's a really good card to have on top there. Oh dear. We are out of main deck Ixalan's bindings too. Dang. We needed that to not be anything particularly good. But now I think we're dead. Maybe, okay, if I'd drawn like another Teferi right there, we could have tucked this and not really worried about this. But now, I think it is all over. They can Teferi, tuck our Ixalan's binding, get Dream Eater, bounce this, play Bolas, get rid of my Phoenix. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. We were really close to pulling that game out, despite how poorly it started, but that then a lot of things went wrong very quickly. Bring in some negates, Ixalan's Binding, and Field of Ruin. Take out probably Lava Coils. I don't think they're going to be doing too much rebuying their own cards. Just board the same way as last time. Again, I think we're set up okay for a control mirror, but we are disadvantaged. So we certainly can't have the first 5 turns go horribly wrong like they did last time. But yeah, the more I've played these games, the more I'm convinced that actually just the best card we have is Ixalan's Binding. It makes me want to play a deck with Thunderherd Migration, the Dinosaur Rampant Growth, and 4 Ixalan's Binding in the main deck. Just get rid of your powerful thing and say that it never comes back. Alright. Potentially the last game. Our backs are against the wall. Play first. Yuck. Done a lot of mulliganing. Sure. They probably left in removal because we did show Legion Warboss, which is kind of whatever, but our mana works. We've got a semi-early play, and we've got our best card, so probably not getting a lot better than this, and we're certainly not likely to find a better 5. They must have had a close 7. They thought about it for quite a while and then mulliganed. You've always been able to click on the Scorpion and make him run faster, but now there's the little, like, magic effect. That's funny. We're having our very powerful wizard duel, and I'm sitting here chasing this little guy along. Sure, I'll take another Teferi on top. Said it was our best card, why would we want anything but a second one? Especially because they are a Thought Erasure deck. We are pretty likely to lose this guy to a discard spell. Who knows, if they don't have any removal, they might take this guy instead, though. Okay, tap land, pretty much expected. Fire right back. This is where the game starts to get interesting. Ideal for us would be them just playing like a tapped land, like a Watery Grave or something. This is less ideal because it looks like they're casting a spell. Yep. So either they have an answer for our Warboss and we're losing one of our good Planeswalkers, or they don't and we just won't do anything until turn 5. They even took the extended art one. Meanie. That was an excellent draw. Because now, the thing about tapping out on turn 2 is it means that they need to kill this in their next turn cycle. So we're going to get to stick this Phoenix, and they might, like, just have a Vraska's Contempt or whatever, but if not, it's going to be kind of tough to deal with this. If they don't do anything, I'm just not even going to cast the Phoenix. Whatever, I don't need to walk into their counterspell. I am completely fine if neither of us cast another spell for the rest of the game. Yeah, same deal. I have lethal on board. I have lethal +2 just on board. They know about the other Teferi? Yeah, wow. Kinda have to question taking the Teferi with Thought Erasure if you don't have an answer for the Legion Warboss. I promise that he will kill you really fast. That was just a really funny game. People, when that card was spoiled, they compared it to Goblin Rabble Master, which I see why you do that, because it effectively adds 2 power to the board, including an attacking token every turn. In general, I think it's significantly worse. Rabble Master attacked as one big creature in a way that was really effective. It would, like, kill a Siege Rhino that blocked it or something like that. Whereas the Warboss will never attack effectively into an X3, but they are similar in that if I play that on turn 3 and neither of us does anything, I'm going to win the game really easily and really quickly. It is an army in a can. It's funny that Hero of Bladehold was a... sure. I don't like this hand very much, but... Hero of Bladehold was part of a cycle. They had the red one that was Hero of Oxid Ridge. But Goblin Rabblemaster and Legion Warboss are a lot closer to being red Heroes of Bladehold. Let's see, we both kept. I think they're just thinking over their turn 1. Yeah, they're in their main phase. But yeah, this hand has really good cards, and the mana just kind of works, but otherwise is pretty unimpressive. Would really like to have one of our early plays, but I don't think we can just mulligan looking for a treasure map every time. Not against the Thought Erasure deck. Like, if we mull down to 5 and they Thought Erasure us and take our treasure map anyway, like, that's really bad. No, what we want is treasure map or search for Azcanta to be right there on top of my deck. Because then we will untap and play it and feel like a genius. Also wouldn't mind drawing a Negate. We've been sort of lucky in that they haven't played an early disinformation campaign against us in these games. But if they do that, it can be really hard to come back. That's just... You're up a card every time you do it, and you can do it almost an infinite number of times. Okay, let's see if they change their mind and take the Chainwhirler this time, or if they just keep taking our Planeswalkers. This is the much scarier card, but if they don't have an answer for the Chainwhirler, yeah, they don't even have their 3rd land. I'm gonna play big creatures that beat you up. Okay, they got their 3rd land. Disinformation campaign, yeah. Would love to draw an Ixalan's Binding here. Did not. I'm just gonna go ahead and stick this, try to sneak under a counter spell. If they have 4th land Vraska's Contempt, I'll feel foolish, but whatever. Okay. No Contempt, please. Yep, they have it. Ugh. Now we're in a lot of trouble. Well. I'm just gonna keep hitting land drops. I think we are in trouble, but it's not the worst thing in the world. We have a counter, so like, we can say no to this. We've got the threat on board, and at any time we can explosion them and draw a couple cards. Oh, please don't have a Thought Erasure. Okay, just a kill spell, whatever. Well. Again, sneaking under counters. Let's get some damage in. This is where they're kind of in an awkward spot. They already burned 2 Thought Erasures, and the other good Surveil card is a counter spell. And so if we just don't do anything, like, their options to pick up this Disinformation campaign are not very good. They are also missing red mana. We know that they're a Grixis deck, and so, like, if they've got a Fiery Cannonade, they're just in a lot of trouble here. We might just steal 2 games with Legion Warboss. That would be a little funny. We do have lethal on board if they don't do anything. Go ahead and let this resolve. hurt you and draw some cards. Go ahead and pitch this mountain, because it sucks. Alrighty. Let's see if this works. Yeah, okay. Thanks, Legion Warboss. Man, people are boarding, the Thief of Sanity in their control decks. Maybe instead of trying to grind card advantage, they should just play this 3-drop that kills people. So, that was a 2-1 performance from a weird deck with some problems, but that gets to play really good cards. So, I'm not entirely sure what we learned from that. That was a weird experience. But if you liked this deck and want to see other videos with weird decks like this, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. We post all sorts of content all the time, and it really helps us to get our things out there and helps you to make sure you can see everything. That's all for today. Thank you, and goodbye.